Today we want to look at the magic wands from Harry Potter and which of these is best suited for close combat. Welcome, this is Kitsune-ryu Martial Science Academy and I'm your professor. We have been talking about magic and wizards, or better, wizards without their magic and in how far their equipment is suited for fighting still. And we already know in the Harry Potter verse this is the most versatile weapon, and in fact it's not a bad weapon because it's a really nicely made small sword that can act quite a bit. But what we also used were these tiny little magic wands, and we misused them as a kind of a dagger substitute. And now the question is, which of the many available ones is the best dagger substitute? So let's start out and dive into it. Let's start out with this beautiful piece from Voldemort. And we can already see it's a decent length. And if we look at the hilt construction, that I simply want to call it like that, it fits nicely into the hand and it even holds on my finger so it doesn't drop down. But if I would get disarmed, I would not break my finger because it's not a closed ring. So this is in fact a neat little construction if we are thinking about using it as a dagger. And I can close my hand nicely around this handle and I can put my thumb on top, which means if I'm striking like that with a magic wand, I have a lot of control here and this magic wand will not easily slip out of my hand, also because of this little protrusion that allows my pinky finger to grip around it and gives me additional stability. I could also use it like that, then my hand would sit on that. That would also work. And also in the other option around, I feel okay, but it somehow feels not as good with this knobbly structure. So I would say this is a really good one for striking. This beautiful piece here is the magic wand of Lucius Malfoy, and it looks really nice with this viper type of hat. The problem is, of course, if we look at it, we have a lot of spikes and spines here. So if I put my hand around it, this is a bit of pain. It gives me, of course, some hold, but it's not really nice to hold. The snake head is not bad for placing my thumb here, so I can hold it like that. I cannot really nicely put a finger into the mouth of the snake because of the two little fangs and the tongue. So this is not really an option. I have to do it like that. And for my large hand, it works. I think it's more problematic for a smaller hand. But this is still not bad. This would be functional. So I can do something with it concerning a dagger technique. The other way around, it's not very complete. I think that will be a general pattern. It's good in the downward stabby position, not so much in the upward stabby position. There's not really a lot of hold in this direction. This unusually shaped one here is the magic wand of Bellatrix Lestrange, and it gives us definitely less hold than the other two. The curvature is somehow nice if you think about it like fencing, but then also the range is shorter than in the other magic wand, so it fits to the name. It's a bit strange, and if we try to put our thumb on the end to make it more stable, then the tip is out of the geometry. So this is not a very effective one. And then we would need to slide down here to make use of this widening so that we have a bit of stability. But then we are not able to put the thumb on the end. The curvature would give it some stability, so it's not super, super bad. I think it has something to it, but I would prefer the one from Voldemort. It simply feels a lot safer than this one. Here we have a random magic wand of a Death Eater, not closer specified. It has, of course, a really nice ornamentation on the top, but on the same time, we get now the problem that, what do we do with this? If we grab it below this ornamentation, then our thumb has basically nowhere to go. If we try to grip around this part of the ornamentation to get a better, this is not really feeling comfortable. So I think this is worse than any of the other ones that we had so far. This is the beautiful magic wand that Albus Dumbledore has used in different occasions. And this is special. Not only in the storyline, it's also special because it's longer. Have a look. This is Lucius Malfoy's magic wand, and that's already a really, really long one. And the one from Albus Dumbledore is a tad longer. So this is probably the longest one. The only weapon that will be longer is the Gryffindor sword. And it has these little bumpies that gives it some profile, which means if I close my fist around it, two of these bumps go between two of my fingers. So between the index finger and the middle finger, and between the pinky and the ring finger. And that gives me a lot of stability. And I can put my thumb nicely on the end, which means this is probably the most dagger-like thing we have in the arsenal. And I really like the idea to have some of the range. And this is now really close to some of the late medieval, early modern times dagger fencing stuff. So if you're into that, that could be your prop. So here we have a Weasley magic wand, that one of Ginny. And it's a lot simpler than the magic wand of the Death Eaters. If we look at it, it has a rather simple type of ornamentation. We can therefore easily slide that in our hand and feel that it's thinner than everything we had before. And also the end is rounded, but also very thin. So if I put my thumb onto that, it's not giving a lot of hold. This already has a lot of the feeling of a chopstick. It's still rather large, so there are worse magic wands than that, but they are less suited for this fighting idea than most of the Death Eater type of magic wands, and also it's definitely not as good as Dumbledore's magic wand. Another of the Weasley magic wands, this one here is from Molly Weasley, and it in fact looks a bit like one of the Death Eater types, and it's similarly nicely designed. We have a real hilt section here, and if we put our hand on that, we again have a ring that goes between two fingers and a widening and a disc down here. So this is really not bad. The only point for me, I have here this Y-shaped tip for a smaller thumb. I think this is pretty good. Mine is simply a bit too wide. I need a smaller thumb, right hand. So if you have a smaller thumb that fits right into it, this can be a pretty powerful stabby thingy. Probably one of the best magic wands for infighting that is not on the Death Eater side. Here we have another magic wand from the Malfoy family, Narcissa Malfoy. And the Malfoys apparently like it when they have some pain when holding their magic wands. Because again, we have this little tiny spikes on the hilt. And that's on the other side, a plus of this thing. We have a real hilt. So we can again place our hand perfectly between the discs in this spiky region. And yes, it's painful, but it gives us a lot of hold. We have here a tip that is not made for putting our thumbs on it. On the other hand, this tip can be used for striking, definitely. This is the first one where we can really see, okay, if this wizard sits in a car accident, this can be used to break the window. So it reminds of a lot of the modern types of daggers where we have the glass breaker on the end. And this is probably also the first one of the magic wands that screams, hold me in this direction, because of this orientation. So we have here another magic wand used by Albus Dumbledore, and it again has a nicely separated hilt section, but it's a bit short. So if I place my hand there, the pinky has to go below this hilt section, but there's space for it. In fact, it's nicely curving here. So if I put it the right way, my pinky fits perfectly here, and then we have this knob on the top where I can really nicely place my thumb. So this is really good. This feels like being made with this in mind to stab and grab and lock and do dagger techniques with this. So I think that would be at the moment my number one choice. This is really nice. Also, this is not a very smooth surface. It's a bit textured, so I have a better hold here. This is really good. This comes close to a real dagger. More of the Weasley family, Fred Weasley, and this has again also a kind of a hilt section, but not as well structured. There is some structuring, texturing here that in fact reminds of a dagger. Not too bad. The fingers can go here and hold. The top section is oblique, but it's okay. I can still place my thumb here to press against it. But if I do so, then my pinky has to go below this hilty-like section, and it's still a bit textured here. So also this will work. This is not as good as the other Dumbledore magic wand, but this is functional. So we can stab with this, and we can make a lot of the different locks with this. This is good. This is a good one. So this here is the one of Queenie Goldstein, and this does not look a lot like being functional in fight, with this little snail house here on the top and a very short hill section. Otherwise this is smooth, which means if I grasp here, only 2 of my fingers get in this section where we have some structure, and then my thumb will go into the snail house, and yeah, that doesn't feel too good concerning giving power. And here we have this carve out where I have trouble putting my index finger. So overall, this is a rather weak and sleeky construction and not as good as many of the other magic wands. This is the magic wand of Luna Lovegood, and it looks like it could shoot from this end. But of course we want to look at the dagger capacities. And on first view, this could look a bit like a hilt, but it's all smooth all over. And there's not a lot of that can hold my fingers back. There's a little bit of a widening here, but it's not very well structured. And then this end has these 4 petal-like endings, and I cannot place my thumb here. But it's also not well made for striking with this. So in this direction, no. So this is probably one of the weak ones. Of course, you can strike with this side. We didn't look at that too much because this is nothing of the dangerous parts. This will simply not work well, and therefore let's go to the next one. Yeah, this will be one of the most hated ones, Dolores Umbridge magic wand, and what you can see immediately, it's the smallest one so far. So range will be not as good. It's still very thin. It is textured, and I can basically put my hand like that, but this texturing is, I cannot describe it. It's too deep and too much. So it bites into my fingers. It doesn't feel very well. And the end also doesn't feel so well on my thumb. And it looks like it would break here any minute between these thinnings. And therefore, also, as I said, the very short range of it, I don't think this is very well made for fighting with it. This here is Minerva's magic wand. And it looks really nice. And again, the problem of functionality. This type of texturing, not too well for my fingers to be placed here. This wobble bobble is much too thick, and the tip here is nothing I can place a thumb, but it also doesn't look like I can strike with it very well, which leaves me not a lot of possibilities of using this thing. I can put my index finger in this groove and hope that it will hold it back a bit. Yeah, that's basically all I can do. The other way around, I could place my pinky in here. I don't feel very secured with this magic wand. Oh yeah, now we're getting into the French realm. This is Fleur's magic wand, and it looks very, very fancy. And this fanciness probably makes it very, very useless. Because if you think of how to put your fingers here, not a lot of possibilities to find a good hold, and also not such a good place for the thumb. This is a bit like this anonymous Death Eater magic wand. Too much ornamentation and therefore not enough functionality for really supporting a stab. You can make it work, but there are other magic wands that we had today already that are much more functional. This is another of the professors. This is from Remus. And it looks like a cudgel, but it's too small to really strike with it. So we can use it like that. We have some texture here. This is a bit hilt-like. It's a bit thin. Some of the other magic wands were thicker here, giving more hold, but possible. And the rounded tip gives me space for my thumb, and it feels secure. So if I have to hit something, this works. Possible, not the best one, but not of the worst one. So in the midfield, I would say. Harry Potter's magic wand has a definite hilt section, and we can place our fingers here and the thumb, and it's a bit thicker. So it's not the worst one. It's in fact one of the better ones, but it's very simple and possible to use. Funnily, it really fits my hand very, very well. Much better than some of the others. Sometimes simple is good, and this is totally okay, functional. So Harry Potter can stab with his magic wand. On the first look, quite similar to Harry Potter's magic wand, Ron Weasley's. But the hilt section is less well defined, so this is much more on the smooth side. So my hand has not the same type of hold, mostly with my index finger here, my thumb on top. Possible to stab, not as good as the Harry Potter's magic wand, and not as good as some of the others with more complex hilt structures that give us hold. So this seems to be the magic wand of Draco Malfoy, apparently. I don't know what they thought with this. This is basically no hilt at all. So there's nothing. Yeah, there are these two little rings that hold my hand a bit back. But here, this is completely smooth. This is very thin. And also with this tip, I cannot place my thumb here. This is not well suited for misusing as a dagger. And what I just said gets worse with this magic wand here. This is Cedric's magic wand, and it's basically only decorated, but otherwise it's a chopstick. And it doesn't get better than that. This is a chopstick. There's nothing. Yeah, okay. Haha, the carvings here give a bit of a texture, but not too much. It's very thin, and also the point where I put my thumb is not very well structured. Probably better than Draco Malfoy's one, but probably worse than most of the others. So apparently another Weasley magic wand, and you can already see this has apparently been inspired by the practices of the Malfoy family, because if I place my hand here, it stings into my hand. This is broader than most of the others, so this is good, but this is painful. And I can place my thumb here, but it really comes off the cost of pain. Somehow functional, but not very well adapted. So, more of the Potter fans. This is Hermione Granger's magic wand. And it has some texture. Not a lot of hilt, but it has texture, and it's wider up here. And it has a flat tip where I can place my thumb. Not as bad as the chopstick type magic wands that we already had, but barely so. So compared, for example, to Harry Potter's magic wand and especially the Dumbledore magic wands, there's less of a hilt, less of a hold, but there are worse ones than that. Newt Scamander's magic wand, we had a bit of that in one of the Weasley magic wands, an oblique top, which is possible to place my thumb in, but it's not entirely flat, it's carved out, which makes it not that well. Then there is a kind of a hilt here, but not a lot of texture, not a lot of widening, leaving me not a lot to use it. So this is in fact almost as bad as some of the chopstick magic ones when it comes down to the capabilities of misusing it as a dagger. So this is Cho Chang's magic wand, and it has some texturing here and some indentations, but they don't match well with my fingers, to be honest. It gives me some hold, but not a lot. And then we have here a tip where I cannot place my thumb. I could argue that this could work as a glass breaker, but the hold is not so good here. So this might be a second case of a magic wand that we have to hold it like that. And so this carving here would work for my thumb to hold it. So I might have, in fact, some hold and I can strike with this. So different but possible. Sirius Black magic wand. And we have a distinct change here from a circular cross section to a square-shaped cross-section. And this makes it even thinner towards the top. So less thick than with the chopstick ones. So it is very chopsticky. We have some texture, we have engravings, and we can place our thumb up here, but it's very thin. It's really, really thin, if you look at that. And that gives me not a lot of good hold. Not one of my favorites. We have another here of Lunar Lovegood's magic wands, and you know what? This is a chopstick, this is a chopstick, this is a chopstick. We have a bit of engraving, but you know I have chopstick that also have a little of engravings. And you take it into your hand and you think, hey, it's a chopstick. And you see the point? And if I take two of these chopsticky ones, then I can chopstick with it. So I have been complaining about the magic wands quite a bit already. Why the heck does Gandalf have a magic wand with which he can whack down a Balrog? And why does Harry Potter have chopsticks? So I have a second version here, in fact, of probably Ginny Weasley's magic wand. If you look at the other version I had, it's even slimmer, but it's a bit longer. And yeah, you see there's some variation in these props that are sometimes a bit tricky to deal with. And of course, all my interpretation is based on the props as I have them available. And we have another magic wand here that I have to check out whom it belongs to. You will see it right down here. This has in fact a little hilt, which means I can place my hand perfectly on this hilt and place my thumb here. This is not bad, but it's still very thin. So I think it comes down to the point that a lot of the magic wands that could be used well have a certain thickness in this region here. And if we look, for example, at the magic wand of the major bad guy, then we see this massive thickening here and additional protrusions that help me to hold it and give me a good feel while grasping it. So I think this is probably the best weapon-like type of magic wand we have in Harry Potter. We will use one of the next videos to experiment a bit with late medieval and early modern times dagger fencing with these things. For the moment, I have to say, I hope we could inspire you and hope to see you around next time.